You're listening to nothing important.
Were you guys just singing 50 Cent?
No, I was singing the good shit Lollipop.
Oh, when I chimed in or when I jumped in, I heard I heard it as Candy Shop, and I thought you were singing a very upbeat version of the 50 Cent classic Candy Shop.
No, I've never been taken to or taken anyone to a candy shop.
But in fairness, he has been known to lick the lollipop.
Yes,
That is true. Oh, yes, he has a voracious appetite for for such things.
Please enjoy the show.
That's great. That works.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Nothing Important Podcast. My name is Brian. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure that you tell everybody about the show. And it's been a bit, so we are now going to catch up with my homeboy Dave. Dave, how you doing, my friend?
I'm feeling pretty fantastic this evening.
All right. And third mic, Jeff. Jeff, congratulations on the new addition to your family. It's been a few weeks since we've chatted, and I hope, I didn't really want to record all that much with you during that time because I've been there before, so we don't have to go too much into it, but everything going good with the new addition?
Everything's going quite well. Ethan, little boy, we've got him on a schedule for he's 5 weeks old now, and actually sleeping for up to 5 hours at a time. So
That's awesome.
Things are actually going pretty well, considering. So, yeah.
Good. Congratulations. And Dave,
Thank you.
how is your new CD of New Edition?
It is not completed yet. It is in the process. We're looking
Now,
for
are you
July.
mixing that like on a cassette, or are you like doing like the whole DVR thing and pirating MP3s?
Well, column A, column B. Actually, we're trying to go
Mhm.
to Betamax for our
Gotcha.
videos, and
Ooh, that's a very intriguing format.
yeah,
switch.
finding someone that can actually put your video on Betamax has been an impossibility at this juncture.
You know, I like to mix the two. I like to make a CDR of songs that I illegally downloaded. Then I play those through a boombox, and then I have another boombox with a blank cassette tape right next to it, and I try to record it like that for the authentic feel of a mixtape.
The dubbing effect, as they say.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Music only sounds really good to me if it sounds far off in the distant, tinny, and with weird pops from the buttons of the boombox.
Don't forget the unintelligible lyrics.
Yes. And sometimes I just throw in, like, I make up a commercial, or I'll say a commercial that I remember and, like, put that through, like, the good part of the intro or the outro and then cut it off abruptly.
Right. Exactly. Local radio station or DJ Clue style.
Yes. Awesome. Well, it's been a little bit since we've talked. Dave, I've seen you a couple times at the arcade. And Jeff, I almost saw you last week when I went and put flamingos out on my sister's lawn for her 40th birthday at like 2 a.m. But you didn't return my text, but that's okay. You had other things going on.
I was actually dead asleep. I fell completely dead asleep and didn't even know that you texted me until I woke up at 6:30 the next morning. So
Completely understandable. So I figured we would probably catch up a bit today, and I know there's things that Dave wants to talk about. And,
Throw me under the bus. Okay.
But I thought, you know what, it'd be kind of fun to catch up with some of the guests that we've had on the show, because it's been a couple weeks since we posted a show, and if anybody new listens or anybody newer and haven't heard of our guests, I thought it'd be kind of fun to catch back up with some of our guests and what they've been doing in the news lately.
sure. I was also kind of paying attention to this half-assed, not even thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So just noticing some names pop up on various news feeds and websites and such.
What's the internet? That's been me lately. I haven't been keeping up with anything. So this is all new to me. So I am your audience. Let's do this.
Awesome. Well, I'll just go through the notable ones. One, Rick Astley is playing the House of Blues in Chicago tomorrow, and I'm taking Kristen.
Oh, I'm just
Awesome.
now finding this out. Oh, it sucks.
Actually, I would have really liked to go.
Could have made
Yeah,
arrangements. Too late.
What was that?
Could have made arrangements, but now it's too late.
Yeah. Yeah,
You'll have to. If I were you, Brian, I would take a copy of the recording of his podcast and play it to the backstage people, so you can go meet him and let him, so that way, they have on voice that he said you could hang out with him and your mom.
And
as well.
actually, what I will do is I am totally going to reach out to his management team just to see if I can get a picture of him.
Nice.
Speaking of musical guest, Wheeler Walker Jr. is going on tour later this summer with Kid Rock.
I want to see half that show.
What a match made in heaven. I don't know what kind of heaven, but a match made in heaven nonetheless.
Come on. Wheeler's a great guy, right? Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, I want to see.
Yeah,
I want to
that'd
see Wheeler, but I mean, I bought what to bod like 20 years ago, and I'm kind of spent on that.
all right.
He's all bedangadanged out.
Bob Odenkirk is in The Incredibles 3, the new or 2 in the new Incredibles movie with Jonathan Banks from Better Call Saul, and his character looks exactly like Bob Odenkirk. Mr. Incredible is voiced by Craig T. Nelson, but he doesn't really look like Craig T. Nelson. But Bob Odenkirk couldn't be more Saul from Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad in The Incredibles if they tried.
So he's got that like smarmy or what's that swarthy look to him?
Oh, dude, yeah, it's completely a computer generated version of Saul,
Nice.
like hair and everything.
Not Jimmy McGill, but full on Saul.
Right? Yes.
Remember character arc. He's
And I
got
just-
it's a wide range.
Right, and from from the preview, I feel like they just took Saul from Better Call Saul and put him in the Incredibles movie.
That's probably what they did. Go with the hot hand, as they say.
Yeah, typecast. Which is funny because Bob Odenkirk has actually been doing like show business for like 30 years, and just now he's getting typecast. Doesn't that usually
He's
happen
been,
early on in your
much
career?
longer than that. What's that?
Yeah. I mean, that usually happens early on in your career, right? Where, you have one breakout role and suddenly you're that guy forever.
I don't know.
Well, look at Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson, kind of hit his stride as that angry enforcer action
Who
hero
finds
guy
things?
when he was like 50 years old.
Right.
Yeah, his sleuthing abilities developed in middle age. He's always
Yes.
finding things that are taken. I was gonna say,
And then showing
even
skills.
like I think like Pesci and De Niro with the mobster stuff, that's still fairly late into those guys' careers. That's not early roles for them, but that's totally what they are now.
Milo Yiannopoulos was just booed out of a New York City bar. I guess he was there drinking, and the bar started chanting Nazi scum, get out, and booed him out of the bar.
What?
Right?
Yeah, I heard about that. I read that. Yeah.
No words. I don't know.
Milo's controversial, and he even said himself, he believes in what he says, but he loves to stoke the fire a bit.
Right.
And, every time he gets kicked out of a bar or people get him kicked off a campus or prevent him from making a speech somewhere, not only does that just make him more famous, but it also helps our download. So I appreciate everybody out there who's yelling at Milo Yiannopoulos for helping increase the downloads for Nothing Important Podcast. It's very nice of you.
Thank you. Keep fighting fascism with fascist tactics. I appreciate that.
And on the same note, lastly, Owen Benjamin is apparently Twitter enemy number 1.
Yes.
And also, thank you for the increase in Nothing Important downloads from like the 4 or 5 times that we've had Owen Benjamin. Now, okay, so like my thing about that is like Milo is controversial by design, right? Like he intentionally goes out and looks for that shit. I don't think Owen did until people started harping on him, and then he doubled down.
He's like the monster that they created. He didn't want to be that guy, but he sees things are going a certain direction, so he's trying to fight it.
Right. Exactly. So he's apparently kicked off YouTube and Twitter, but his Instagram is still going strong. Apparently now that's the place to find Owen Benjamin is on Instagram
And Patreon. I'll give that a
And
plug.
Yes, and,
Well, I
yes, and Patreon.
Yeah, because he was making
I
his
don't-
money off social media, and now he's blackballed. So like his income's kind of gone, and that's all he has left now is Patreon, where it's you subscribe to podcasts, which we're not on.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting thing. So I work for a company that's located in a very like what everybody would call like liberal area of the country, right? Like,
Yes.
like Washington, like
On the the forefront of far leftism.
right, yeah, like the whole West Coast, right? It's a very very like liberal area of the country, and it's funny because I don't bring any of this to work. There's very few people that know that I do the whole podcast thing at my work, and that probably only came out on some sort of bet. Like for example, there was somebody in my one of my peers at work made a comment that they're like, well, I bet Mike Rowe is a jerk, and I'm like, well, I'm not friends with the guy, but he's been cool when I talk to him. people were like, wait, you talked to him? And I was like, I was gonna try to walk it back and be like, I mean, like when I see like interviews and stuff like that, but I was like, no, fuck it. I'm like, yeah, for about an hour on the phone. And they're like, well, how did you talk to him? And I'm like, well, and then I explained this ridiculous podcast thing, and they're like, no way. And I'm like, I'll bet you a beer on it. So like Mike Rowe won me a beer because I was like, oh look, there's me talking to Mike Rowe. So like every once in a while, like I'll have a situation where that comes up. So I was out at corporate last week, and Milo was brought up. And of course, since he's a very controversial person, people were saying, I can't believe anybody would do business with him. He's an asshole, and just going off. And once again, I was like, okay, he's pretty blazing for sure, but an asshole? He's not an asshole.
No,
Like, cause and then I had to explain with him, I actually dealt with him and his team for like 3 weeks before he was on our podcast. And it blew people's mind that he couldn't have been more of a gentleman.
right, and give his time.
He couldn't have been
to
more of a
these-
professional.
Give his time to people that he's never heard of.
Right. And I feel like Owen Benjamin is probably now that way, because I go on Twitter and I see people railing against Owen, and then there's people free Owen because apparently Twitter can't kick people off their own platform, which I think is a shitty thing to do, but like Twitter's their own company. They can do whatever the fuck they want. Like,
Right.
we'll figure it out. People act like, they're putting him in jail, and like, yeah, it definitely sucks for him, but it's not like he's being imprisoned for saying anything that he says. He's just not on Twitter, and fuck Twitter, because who gives a shit?
Apparently, millions and millions and millions of people,
Including some of our fantastic listeners who comment and talk
Yeah.
to us on Twitter. So thank you for continuing to participate.
Exactly. Not important PC.
Right.
Tweet me at Pothost Dave. I don't even have the app. Okay.
And Podcast Jeff. Fantastic. All right.
But
Well, it's a
amazing.
shame though, because it's like it is that powerful. I mean, the freaking president talks to the country through it, and it is like freedom of speech should not be infringed, but by a private company. I mean, if people felt that strongly about it, they could do something. But nobody's gonna like boycott Twitter. Nobody's gonna get off Twitter for 2 days. I mean, how are you gonna find out what the goddamn Kardashians are doing?
Right.
And let's also realize that freedom of speech only involves your freedom of speech against the government. It does not mean from a person to a person or to a corporation, which is also a person.
Right.
So
Yep.
The government should just
Well
buy
said, Jeff.
Twitter.
That's right.
There you go.
Then we could then we could really start oppressing people.
to the max.
You're listening to Nothing Important.
My wife just came home and she's super excited because in our never-ending quest to alienate and confound our neighbors, we're mounting a TV above the hot tub in our backyard.
Fantastic.
So my wife doesn't have to decide whether she wants to sit in the hot tub or watch TV in bed. We're just going to go ahead and combine the two, and our neighbors can think we're even more ridiculous.
What you should do is turn your bed into a hot tub.
Right.
Well,
That's what.
Well,
Or,
if it was a
or
water
just
bed,
fall asleep in the bathtub and drop a TV in it.
There you go.
nice. I'm digging that plan. I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna keep that in mind, depending on how this year goes. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. Anyway, so I always think it's interesting that we have the opportunity to talk to some of these people, and then they come up in the news. And then is that pompous of us? Like, is that silly? Because on one hand, I think it's kind of cool that we've kind of been able to chat with people that we admire. But on the other hand, I still have this like weird stigma where I don't want to walk around and be like, oh yes, talk to Bruce Campbell, pretty sweet.
Right.
Well,
Oh,
it's
speaking of Bruce Campbell, did you see his recent news? I think it was yesterday or the day before.
No.
That he is now retired from playing Ash.
Yeah,
He's officially announced since the cancellation.
We got
of the
right
show.
in there.
Wow.
We got him right under the gun, kids.
Yeah.
I have not been keeping up with season 3 yet.
Well, better keep up on it while it's on because it's the last season.
Oh.
Stars chose not to renew it, and then Bruce, in his wisdom, said, "Well, big gulps, huh? See you later, Ash."
See you later. I'm going to go ahead and take credit for that. I'm going to go ahead and take credit for his retirement of Ash. I feel that after chatting with us, he's just like, I'm just not going to deal with these kind of people anymore. and we ruined it. And I have no shame. I am not sorry.
That would be funny if it weren't for comic book conventions. I'm sure he's dealt with far worse than us.
Fair enough. And speaking of TV shows being canceled, of course, we and Jeff kind of have this Rick and Morty podcast called Upon Among Us that we still haven't done the finale for, but
that's what it's called. Anticipation.
Everybody wants. See, we're edging. We're just edging right now. This is like the longest edge, right? And then when we drop the finale, season 3 finale episode, it's just like everybody's getting pregnant.
Explosive.
Yeah. Exactly. But Adult Swim hasn't even renewed Rick and Morty yet for season 4.
Yep. That's all Turner Broadcasting, according to Dan and Justin. So it's Adult Swim's fault, or at least their parent company's fault right now, that nothing's moving forward.
No, I think just podcasts that we're associated with are jinxed, or anything. I mean, Milo's getting booed out of places, Owen getting kicked off Twitter, Mike Rowe, I think, held up a bank at gunpoint. I mean, everybody's falling off the cliff.
Rick Astley's probably going to fall off stage tomorrow and break his neck. It's great. We are the death knell for anybody with any notoriety.
Except for Better Call Saul.
Except for Better Call Saul. And we also let the cat out of the bag that Jonathan Banks is Banksy.
Right.
Yeah. Well, which I haven't seen that catch on Twitter yet, but give it time.
We need followers.
People need more proof, which it's out there. We're just too lazy to go get it.
It's right in front of your face. All anybody has to do is look.
Right.
Hashtag
Right.
Jonathan Banksy. That is going to be, when we finally land Jonathan Banks after 4 years of doing that goddamn podcast, when we finally land him, I am going to ask him nothing but questions about his role as Banksy.
Where do you get the inspiration
Wouldn't that be great?
for your stencil art?
I don't think that would be great. I think that would be him instantly hanging up the phone after berating you for quite a while in a very Jonathan Banks way.
That sounds like a challenge.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know him. We should
find out the hard way.
Ask PFAB about it and see if he agrees with us.
We got to get PFAB on the
Jonathan,
joke, saying it to him all the time like we would. Like he shows up to work and he's
Jonathan,
like, "So
your stencil art on the Grand Cathedral of a bunch of rats being ran over by a tank that says USA on it. What were you trying to say there?"
find like the most obvious metaphors.
No idea what you're talking about. That was poor. It's not a PFAB impression, but
That was like a,
Right.
Jeff's
It was
impression
close.
of PFAB's impression of Jonathan Banks' impression of himself.
Right.
yes, it was multi-layered.
Which again brings us back to Jay Leno and how every Jay Leno impersonation sounds like somebody doing an impersonation of a Jay Leno impersonation. And that's year 4 of Nothing Important, everybody. See you in year 5. But it's great to. So, Super Troopers 2, Dave, you went and saw it.
I went and saw Super Troopers 2.
And
How pissed off am I going to be if I go see it?
Slightly to not.
Mm-hmm.
In my
Okay.
opinion, it is the best comedy, like long anticipated comedy sequel of recent vintage for sure.
Okay.
Because it's the same style of comedy, but they didn't rehash the same jokes. It was kind of self-referential about comedies that do sequels that do that. And
Okay.
it's just, I don't know, I thought it was good. Like there was parts where I was the only one laughing, so maybe it was just me. But
okay.
well, there was some like really deep-seated sports jokes that I think a lot of people didn't get. But no, I thought it was good. It was good. I was disappointed in the turnout, actually, because they got the big theater, and we went early because I thought it felt like it was pretty hyped to me because I was talking to friends about it. But I guess you know my friends are one sect of people, and you know this wasn't the Black Panther opening or anything. But yeah, this is a very thin crowd at the theater. It was a Sunday night, and we all seemed to go out, you know, enjoying ourselves. It was unanimously agreed it was a good movie, and I would recommend going to see it for sure.
That's always my concern with like sequels, particularly comedy sequels, where they just repackage the same joke.
Right.
It's like I always say, everybody wants a Big Lebowski sequel, but I fear that if there were a Big Lebowski sequel for whatever reason, it would be somehow Donnie isn't dead, but also it would be some sort of like caper that the main characters were unwittingly drawn into. It would probably follow the same plot points. Donnie would probably die again. And every
No.
joke would be redone. Just like The Hangover. The Hangover 2 is literally the same exact movie as the first one.
That's what
It's
I kept hearing.
To
I
bring
never
it back
saw
to
it.
Bruce Campbell, it's like Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2. Hangover and Hangover 2 are the exact same movie, except for instead of dorky-looking white dude gets locked on the roof, it's a dorky-looking Indian dude gets locked in an ice machine. Other than that, it's the exact same fucking movie. And that was my fear about Super Troopers is I feel like even though I haven't seen it, and honestly I'm probably not going to go see it, not because I'm against it or I'm down on it, it's just for whatever reason I just never make it to the movie theater.
Right.
But
Sure.
I feel when I asked you and I said, you know, how pissed off am I going to be when I see this, because you guys have heard me for years talk about like things that aggravate me about movies, and I just feel like if I go see it, I'm going to know every single payoff of every single joke because like I'm sure just because it's like their most famous thing. I'm sure there's some variation of the whole meow thing, right?
I cannot confirm nor deny.
So it is. Okay, so like, so yeah, and I love the movie Super
But that's
Troopers,
one of
so I
those
guess
where
what
like,
about-
but that's one of those honestly where they reference the fact that it happened earlier. They don't like try and pull off the same joke.
Okay.
It's like they spin on it because
Okay.
there is still like them versus local cops kind of a thing going on, but
Mhm.
they're aware of it. They're not. It's just I don't know. To me, it struck me as like they knew what they were doing, and they know the common pitfalls that people hate about these things, so they kind of did their own take on it because you don't want to go a completely different movie, I guess. Although
Mhm.
maybe sometimes like Wayne's
Sure.
World 2,
Well-
nothing like Wayne's World 1.
Right.
A
Which
completely
is
different
good
plot.
though.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. See, that's what I'm saying. See, that's the sequel that was done right. It's like it's with the Big Lebowski thing. I'd like to see those characters again, but I want the movie to be absolutely no resemblance to the first one.
Right.
Like no
Well,
callbacks to the previous jokes.
If your
anything
movie
outside of the characters' personalities.
Well, if your movie is Super Troopers and it's about a Virginia State Police troop, you have to keep it police force based.
Right.
But yeah, and
there are definitely some roots that have to be there. But I understand what you're saying, Dave.
yeah,
There are lots of movies that, yes, the in order is essentially they grab bag at the fact that they made a lot of money the first time,
right,
and then just try to redo the exact same thing, thinking that it's fan service
right.
to make that reference or whatever, but it's not a rehash. I mean, it's just lazy most of the time.
Yeah,
and then it comes off
that's
as
the thing.
half as funny as it was the first time.
I didn't feel like this was lazy, and my biggest fear was the opening, because the opening to Super Troopers is possibly my favorite opening to a movie ever. Like that,
Right.
whoever,
well done.
that's great. That's a great scene, and I was like, okay, how are they going to open this thing? And it's completely different. It is not even close, and that's when I was like, okay, I can settle in, and it's not going to be like tired.
Like Super Troopers, would you say that that's a weed like movie, like a pothead movie? Would you say that?
Oh, I call it stoner comedy, yeah, for sure,
Okay, for sure. And then like Half Baked would be stoner comedy, obviously,
definitely,
right?
yes.
I feel like those two movies are, because I hate most stoner comedy.
It's
It's
stupid,
just like I would probably hate something that was like obnoxiously like drunk comedy.
right? Yeah,
It seems like it's just trying to like drive the point home. Like I fucking get it. You smoke weed or you're wasted all the time. Cool, cool story. But I actually like Super Troopers, even though it's stoner comedy. Same with Half Baked.
Mhm.
Half Baked on the surface is a movie that would annoy the shit out of me. Like Dazed and Confused, that movie sucks shit. But Half Baked,
Yeah.
yeah, and I'll say that, and nobody ever says that, but you can. I'm gonna put that on a shirt.
You
Dazed
should.
and Confused is sucks shit. It's such a shitty movie. There's nothing awesome about it. It's
There is.
It's like Scarface. Scarface also fucking sucks.
You
People
watch
need
your
to stop
goddamn
buying
mouth, sir.
posters. I'm just saying, maybe you should go buy like one or two of the oversized Scarface T-shirts and look like a douchebag, because that's all that fucking movie was made for. Was to
No,
sell posters
Push It to the
and
Limit.
oversized
Push It to the
T-shirts
Limit is a fantastic montage song.
Push It to the limit.
All right,
And that's another thing.
the only
That's like the only real song in that movie, because the rest of it is soap opera organ music, and it just infuriates me.
Well, yeah, it's an epic. Two things though. For one, speaking of
Soap
songs,
opera organ music is epic.
speaking of songs,
it's Shakespearean.
Dazed and Confused is one of the best soundtracks of all time. That is the one good thing about that movie, and the one thing I hate about Scarface.
kind of like Batman Returns.
Yes, and the one
or
one thing I
Batman
hate,
Forever.
Or Batman Forever.
That-
That's
that Batman
right, yeah,
Forever.
The one with Seal.
Yes,
Yeah, that's
The
Kiss
most
from a
romantic of all
Rose
the Batman.
and
The
Hold Me,
Offspring
Kiss
wrote a
Me,
song
Throw,
for
or yeah, that
Mhm.
Hold Me, Kiss Me,
Hold Me,
Fuck
Throw Me, Kiss Me, Kill
whatever.
Me.
Yeah,
Hold Me,
Yes,
Throw
that's
Me,
right.
Kiss Me, Kill Me. No, but
And
Scarface.
that
I have
song
to
by Erasure.
So the thing I hate about Scarface is that it spawned the phrase "say hello to my little friend," because nobody has ever made me laugh saying that since Al Pacino.
And it's always referenced in everything.
I hate it. I hate it so much. It gets me fired up.
It's lowest common denominator comedy.
Exactly.
Much like this podcast, lowest common denominator comedy.
Right.
But
right.
you know who doesn't do lowest common denominator comedy? Jay Leno.
Oh,
He's the king.
Come on.
He's the king of LCD comedy.
Jay Leno is the pinnacle of American stand-up comedy.
Oh, and I'll say this also. This is another thing that I said I want to talk about critics a little bit, because I went and checked out Rotten Tomatoes. And Super Troopers has a 70% fresh score from the audience. You want to take a stab at what the critics say?
30.
35.
I was going to go with 33.
35%.
Oh, no, whatever. You can't Price is Right rules me afterwards.
420, Bob.
It's 25?
It's 35.
Oh, 35.
35%
Slightly
fresh.
higher.
But I couldn't believe it. But I just started reading all the reviews, and it's like nobody got it. Like nobody understood that this movie was made for fans of Super Troopers 1, because they're like, well, these guys haven't grown in 15 years, and like they're still the same dumbass stoner comedy, and it's like, yeah,
Well, that's what it's supposed to be.
that's
it's
what
a sequel.
the fans broke the record on Indiegogo to get, man.
But let me
Right.
pose this to you.
Yes.
The first Super Troopers movie also didn't take off like a rocket either.
Right.
It was nobody saw it originally in the theater, and nobody fucking liked it at first.
Exactly.
Sure.
Yes.
And then now it's incredibly revered.
It
Much
is.
like, as we spoke about earlier, The Big Lebowski, right?
Yeah.
Nobody went and saw that in the movie theater, and now there's fucking festivals
right.
for The Big Lebowski.
And a religion. Don't forget about
And a religion.
dudism.
That's very true.
Dudism.
I actually know somebody who got ordained and married one of our friends, and he was in the Church of the Dude. or whatever.
I also know somebody who did that. Different person.
I think
yes.
I think I know. I think I know one of the guys you're talking about, right?
Yes, you would know that.
I know him. He used to call himself the dude.
And Dave's like, and me too.
But going back a little bit, reading the reviews of Super Troopers and then some other movies that I like, and even some movies like that are super awesome reviewed that I didn't think deserved it, like A Quiet Place was pretty fantastic, but not the greatest movie ever. I want to start reviewing critics.
That is an awesome idea.
I want to be a critic.
It's like
okay. Rotten Tomatoes is a website that takes one movie and then aggregates out, 30 to 50 critical reviews, let's say.
Hundreds.
So then hundreds. I'm breaking this down here.
Right.
For a second.
Okay.
So
Bear with
So
me.
you're taking one movie with 50 reviewers. So then your $1 million idea for a website, which I'm totally on board with, by the way, is to get like 50 people to each review each of the reviews of those 50 people for like 50 movies, and then aggregate that into a sour grape score for what that person
that's
actually
genius.
does.
That's absolutely genius.
But not
instead of Rotten Tomatoes.
Sour grapes.
No. Hold on. Sour grapes, Jeff. That is a genius idea.
Wow.
Copyright, trademark.
Well, and I wasn't thinking.
All
I
right,
wasn't
so-
thinking aggregator. I was thinking I personally, because I think there's a top 10 critics thing on Rotten Tomatoes. So I would review.
No, so
review those top 10 critics on how they review other
right.
movies.
So you would be,
but not an aggregator.
you yourself would be the equivalent. You yourself would be the equivalent of the Rotten Tomatoes score.
Yes.
Everybody else critiquing that critic would be the equivalent of the fan score.
Yes.
But that's
Right.
so ambitious. I was keeping it simple.
It's just a bridge too far. Stealing other people's ideas and slightly changing the name of the concept. Bridge too far.
No,
I can't and I won't do it.
Because the aggregator wasn't the point. The point is me, Dave's opinion of these critics. Then I will be the critic's critic.
So Dave's grapes.
Dave's sour
Dave's
grapes.
grapes.
Sour Dave's.
It can go from like super rotten to like raisin.
No, it could be like
Right, 'cause
I'm,
if you're
I'm
praising,
thinking
like,
like
plum.
like Chardonnay,
Plump.
Chardonnay
Plump.
to like Mike and Ike's.
All right, I think that's where we should end it. That's so obscure.
Sourgrapes.com goes directly to the Warner Brothers website.
Hilarious.
Does it really?
It does. So that's just funny, is what that is. So,
All right, guys. I think that's a good chat for tonight.
Be sure to follow Nothing Important online at nothingimportantpodcast.com. Find us on iTunes, on Twitter at NotImportantPC, and you can also find us on Facebook. Nothing Important is recorded with help from Third City Sound in Joliet, Illinois. Thanks for being awesome.